RJ Game News USA here, back today with another video. And today we're going to talk about this Steam Machine by Valve. We're going to read this article from IGN and we'll discuss. So if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And of course, don't forget to hit the like button if you can. Let's jump right into it. So the article reads, after more than a decade, Valve is launching a new Steam Machine. While this little gaming PC is exciting on its own, it's also the next step in Valve's play to become the face of PC gaming, at least more than it already is. Because alongside the Steam Machine, Valve is also launching a new controller and the Steam Frame, a VR headset that itself runs on Steam OS, combined with the Steam Deck. Valve now has the makings of its own gaming tech ecosystem. But this doesn't happen overnight. This is an ecosystem Valve has been quietly working on for more than a decade. And now that it's starting to look like the next generation of consoles is going to look more like PC gaming than ever, it's the perfect time for Steam to assert itself as the face of PC gaming. Now, before we continue the article, let me just say right off the bat, this is horrible news for Xbox. The whole premise, the whole idea of the next-gen Xbox was, look, you can play your Steam games on your Xbox. This is your PC television. So this is already going to harm this new Xbox that comes out in a couple years even worse. Because I think the Steam Machine will be much more, actually will sell much better than the next Xbox. I really believe that. Back to the article. What's in an ecosystem? When I talk about hardware ecosystem, the first thing that comes to mind is Apple. Over the last couple of decades, the Cupertino company has created a range of devices that all work in concert, syncing together your settings and preferences. It's why, for the most part, when you get a new iPhone these days, setting up a new device is as simple as holding it up over your old iPhone, letting software move everything over. This works with pretty much all of Apple's devices, whether it's an Apple Watch, Apple TV, or even a MacBook. Everything is just a kind of easier if you have other devices from Apple. Speaking as an Android person, we don't get any of those anemones. I do straight talk. I don't fuck with Apple, and clearly it's costed me in the past. There's a problem with this, though. Apple's ecosystem is often referred to as a walled garden, in the way it makes people feel trapped after they've already invested in a couple of Apple devices. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. It's the walled garden. And Steam wants to make a walled garden, while Xbox does not. Alright, continuing. Microsoft has also tried to create a similar ecosystem several times, starting with the Windows Phone. I was one of the 12 people who owned one of these things, and it was genuinely useful to be able to carry my Windows settings over to my phone. But even after Microsoft's mobile operating system failed into obscurity, Windows started to become a lot better at being a multi-device ecosystem in of itself, even if I was limited to PCs. If you have multiple PCs running off Windows, it's remarkably easy to set up so that everything is just shared between them. Game saves, documents, and even settings are easy to set up so they sync between your devices. Recently, the company has also tried to work with Xbox into this ecosystem-centric approach. That's why Microsoft claims everything is an Xbox, because although programs like Apple, like Play Everywhere and Game Pass, everything potentially is. There's just one problem, though: user experience. Because Windows has been designed around mouse and keyboard for decades, retooling it to be cross-compatible with a UI that's primarily used with a controller is going to take a lot of work. Microsoft has made some decent first steps by making Windows usable with a controller. Just look at the Xbox Ally X. But Valve has a leg up with SteamOS. Yes, they do. There's a lot of users who have experienced issues with the Xbox ROG Ally and the Xbox Ally X. And I feel like Steam already having done the Steam Deck and already optimizing with SteamOS, I think they know what they're doing a little bit better in this sphere. Don't you? Continuing the article. SteamOS is the secret weapon. Between the Steam Machine, the Steam Frame, the Steam Deck, Valve is clearly moving to make a SteamOS ecosystem of its own. SteamOS itself blew up in popularity with the Steam Deck in 2022, but it's been around much longer than that. So, interesting enough, we saw Xbox is becoming less and less involved with hardware and more involved with software and games and being multi-platform, while Steam is becoming more and more entrenched in hardware, making hardware and creating their own walled garden. So we may have competition for PlayStation and Nintendo. Continuing the article. Valve's Linux-based SteamOS launched in 2013, followed by the original Steam Machine in 2015. But while the skeleton of the operating system was similar, it relied on games that already had built-in Linux support. There certainly were games that would run on SteamOS, but not enough to sell people on abandoning Windows, especially when it was paired with expensive hardware. This led to third-party Steam machines being rebranded as Windows 8-based mini PCs, and it seemed like Valve's PC making days were in the past. But in 2018, Valve funded Proton, a compatibility layer that allowed SteamOS, along with other Linux distros, to run Windows games. While it was rough at first, only supporting a few games, according to a post on Gaming on Linux, it's grown considerably in the 7 years since its initial release. Proton is ultimately what led to Steam Deck's success through this modified version of Wine. Valve's little handheld can pretty much play any game in my library, albeit excluding any games that only rely on anti-cheat. The software is only getting better, too. With the Steam Frame and Valve announced today, the company was able to get Proton running on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which not only allows Windows games to run on Linux, but also games built for traditional PC processors like the x86 architecture to run on ARM. That's something Apple has been struggling to do. Just look at the limited amount of PC games that are running on Mac OS. So yeah, that's definitely there. Steam is well ahead of Apple here in this regard. And we'll skip that part of the article. For the longest time, if you wanted to play PC games, you were almost forced into Windows, and it's not hard to see why. Microsoft's operating system has always had good hardware compatibility, which meant a wide range of machines and a huge built-in install base. But as Windows 11 gets more bloated with features like Copilot, an alternative has been desperately needed. The Steam Deck showed that it was possible to play most games without Windows, and the Steam Machine is going to go even further with its more powerful hardware, but there's still room to grow. So, honestly, guys, I think I'm going to stop the article there. I think this is big news. I think if you're a fan of the Steam Deck, why would you not be a fan of the Steam Box, essentially? So, what do you guys think? Would you guys play a Steam Machine, or would you stick to traditional consoles? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, guys, this is RJ signing out. Have a good one.